Hi friends, Jim Freeman again from Silverbridge Senior Transitions. I'm here again with a newly acquired friend, Terri Shideler, who is the daughter of two people, senior people, who faced the problem and succeeded at transitioning from their home to a community where they got some better care,
Yes.
which they needed. And we're just going to talk a little bit about the process and what happened, and Terri can tell her story about how things went and what she feels about it and so forth. So Terri, why don't we start with you live in the Pierce County area.
I do.
And your mother Carol and her husband Russ were living in their home for a long time, 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
They were both retired career people. They had been in public service for a long time, doing a great job.
Yes.
And Russ in particular took care of the home very nicely. And things were pretty clean. And probably more than Russ, but Russ and Carol like stuff. They have.
They acquired a lot of things. Yes.
They acquired a lot of things, and so over the years they had a collection of this and that, and they were pretty attached to them.
Very attached. Yes.
Right. So time goes along, and their capacities were diminishing a little bit,
Yes.
and then a little more. What led to the decision to think about at least moving into a place where they had higher care?
I think it was just Mom and Russ realizing it was time they needed a little more help. They weren't able to do everything on their own. Maybe a little coercion from the kids.
You had a sister and a brother.
I do have a sister and a brother, yes, who all three of us were, it's time. You can't, Mom couldn't even cook anymore. I mean, she's 85 and she can, but it's difficult.
Right.
She needs help with this stuff. So we had somebody coming in and cleaning and taking care of the yard and the house, and Russ did anything that he could. And then he had a handyman who'd come help him with things. So it just got to the point where they needed some assistance and realized it was time to let the house go and find somewhere that they could get the assistance they needed.
Right. Well, they may have realized that on a logical level, but it was still tough.
Then the hard part came. The reality of we have to go through all of this stuff and figure out what I need, what I want, what I can live without. And I think it was a little easier for Mom than it was for Russ. Russ had a very colorful life, has had and will have more, and a lot of passions, a lot of careers, items from every one of them, and he collected items from every one of them. He was a cab driver for a while, and for Oliver Cab Company, had the tops of the cabs, lights, anything you can think of, signage. He was very into trains, so he had a lot of trains and just everything you could think of.
Right.
So there was a lot, like I said, a lot of things. And he did really good. He did a really good job downsizing things. But it was still hard, and they still ended up with a 2-bedroom apartment and a storage unit and an extra storage over at the home. So they still have quite a few things. But it took months to go through that stuff.
Right. Well, and you had had discussions with a number of different people in the estate sale business and
Yes.
and all this. And when I came into the picture, Russ and Carol had already moved.
Yes, they were already out.
And they were living in it was a nice community.
It was.
With a nice apartment.
Mm-hmm.
But I could tell they were still struggling with just the fact of leaving their home.
Yes.
And you were struggling with the problem of what to do with the stuff. And,
Yes.
And so we invited a company called Blue Nest Home
They were excellent.
to come in. And why don't you describe a little bit what they did and how they went about things?
They were fantastic, actually. I mean, they took everything out of my hands. We went through everything, made sure Russ and Carol got everything out of the house that they wanted to keep. And they went through after that and organized everything, put everything together in like lots. Got rid of the garbage that was there. Figured out what would sell, what wouldn't sell, and they sold things that I would have thrown away in a heartbeat. That's garbage. No, they got good money for this stuff, so it was excellent.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. They came in and they did everything and took it completely out of my hands. Such a burden to be lifted. You have no idea.
Oh, I do know. That's why I recommend them. But
I thought they were great.
yeah, but you didn't know about that.
I did not.
About what they do, or that people like that existed.
I had heard that there's people who will come in and auction this stuff, but I didn't realize that they were going to come in and go through everything and organize it and put it in lots and
take pictures and write descriptions.
It was great. Yeah, they were there for the pickup day when people came and picked stuff up, and then after that, they continued on and got rid of the things that were left, got the garbage cleared out.
Right.
They would have done some cleaning, but we went ahead and took that on ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, what they did was fantastic. I would recommend them to anybody. In fact, I have recommended them to people already.
Good.
So,
excellent. Yeah. So that was Sheila Perot and Olympia Bohr and Angel.
Angel's the one I dealt with the most. Yeah,
right.
She was fantastic.
Right. Well, so you struggled for months, years maybe, with what to do with this stuff.
Yes.
Got connected with Blue Nest Home. It wasn't over instantly.
It was not. It probably took 2 to 3 months from beginning the first connection until everything was done and picked up and the house was ready.
Right.
And it was the happiest day of my life when I could say, "Hey, Jim, it's yours."
Yeah, it's ready. Let's get on the market. Well, and just to mention, you're full-time employed.
I work full-time.
Right, and so you were, struggling, taking care of your mom and dad, and trying to figure out what to do with all this stuff. And so having somebody like Blue Nest was valuable to you to be
It was a
able to
lifesaver
delegate.
for me. Yes.
Okay. All right. So we got it done. We had a discussion about further work, like getting an inspection. By the way, every home that goes on, this home was in very good condition. But every home, you can have an inspector inspect a new home, and it's going to find things, and things come up. And people have different opinions about it. And there's no law or rule that says one party or another has to do an inspection. It's just customary that when people are buying a big ticket item like a home, they want to know what they're getting. And so the sellers have the opportunity to do the inspection themselves.
Right.
And, no surprises anymore. Okay, this is the list of stuff, and we can fix it maybe, or maybe we won't, but at least we'll be able to disclose to somebody what the inspector had found. You chose not to do that, which is fine. But later on in the process, which we'll talk about a little bit, we will discuss what happened and how we might have handled that differently.
Hindsight, I would have done it.
Right, okay. So Blue Nest Home came in. They had not only did the estate sale, they do a great job. I've worked with them many times, and they have a following. They do online auctions. One great thing about the way that they do things is people are coming to the house only on one day.
Yes.
That's it. So nobody in and out, disturbances,
Yes.
negotiations, discussions, none of that. It's all done online. And the people that come to the house have already paid for their lots. And so all they're doing when they're there is just picking it up and taking it away.
Yep.
And, I actually don't know what the results were for the auction, but very often you make back about as much as it costs to put the auction on. That's pretty typical. Maybe you made a little more, I don't know.
I made a little bit.
A little bit. But the main thing is that the secret here is that people will buy your stuff and pay you to come and pick it up rather than you paying other people to take it.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. And, and you know, if you have a professional do it, it's well organized and stress-free. So
well, we still ended up making money even with the document shredding and the garbage haul, everything. So they did such a fantastic job that we still ended up with a check in the end.
right, right, good. All right, so the stuff got taken care of. The cleaners came in. You did your work. You and Mike, your husband,
Yes.
did a lot of work, by
Yes.
the way. Congratulations on that. And the home is ready. We put the home on the market at a price that was acceptable to Russ and acceptable to Carol. And we had some pretty good activity.
I thought yeah.
Yeah, we had showings and people were inquiring about it and we were putting out a lot of information. But it took, I don't know, a month, you know.
Right about a month.
About a month before anybody made an offer.
Right.
And the offer was not pleasing to Russ in particular, but we were able to talk with the broker that represented the buyer, and we got some more information about it. And I worked with you
Yes.
and Carol and Russ and Mike, and there was a lot of discussion. You know,
There was.
Yeah.
Well, they needed to have it explained to them exactly why the buyers wanted what they wanted, and just realize that there's different ways to buy a house, and sometimes in order to make everybody happy you have to give a little, and
It's called negotiation.
yes.
Conversation.
We
Right.
got there though.
Right, right. And, you know, people are people.
Right.
And so everybody's got issues and, you know, a certain way they do things. And when you're either selling or buying a big ticket item like a house, there's a lot of emotion involved.
Yeah, especially when you've been there 26 years.
Right, right. So part of it's just, you know, being calm and, you know, discussing the issues forthrightly, and not being a doormat, but, you know, representing, you know, what your interests are,
Right.
and having a discussion about it. And usually when people are able and willing to do that, we can come to find, you know, common ground. You know, it's not a battle. I'm not an attorney, I'm a real estate broker.
It was a little battle between me and Mike and Russ and Carol.
Well, I mean, you know, sure.
We all had different opinions.
Yeah. But, you know, when you start digging through the facts and you say, well, this is why I think we should do it this way, or this is why they're doing it this way, it's amazing. You know, I bet if we counted up all the people who eventually were involved in this transaction, we would find that it's 30, 40, 50 people.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
And any one of these folks could put a stop on it.
Right.
And
It's amazing it got done.
yeah, well, it's amazing any of it gets done to me, but we had a lot of discussion. We had some back and forth negotiation. The buyers finally arrived at a price that was acceptable to your parents, and then they wanted to go through an inspection process. That popped up a couple of surprises,
It did.
and but we worked that out.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, and
Mike was huge on that part.
he was big,
Yeah.
big time. And we found, you know, I recommended that we let the buyers do it after closing,
Right.
but the buyers didn't want that, and so there's this cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
But as you say,
It did work out better this way, I think, in the long run. I mean, everybody got what they wanted, and I think everyone ended up happy.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, that's all the indications I got from
Yeah.
the
me
buyer
too.
side. Yeah, but so anyway, so it took a while. I think the process from first offer to closing was something like 45 or
It was right. It was.
45 days.
I think it might have been a little like more even actually.
Yeah, 60
but,
days
yeah.
maybe. And there was a lot of steps in the process. We had some great help from our people at Ticor Title,
We did.
and the buyer's lender was pretty cooperative, and you know we worked with them. So you know it took a while, but we got through it. And you know, do you think Russ and Carol were happy with the result?
I think they're very happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, they're glad. They're actually glad to be out of it and not have the nagging feeling in the back of their head is we still have this house we can go back to.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping at this point they can really release that house and move forward and enjoy their life.
Okay. Well, so overall, from beginning to end, I think I first talked to you on the phone it was maybe 5 or 6 months ago.
Mhm.
And, you didn't know me from Adam.
I did not.
I called you because Russ and Carol told me that you were the person that they wanted to have involved,
Right.
to be the responsible person. And so thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
I really could not have done any of this without you. It was great, and you did a great job, and Mike did too. So, but overall, based on your experience, so looking back and just briefly describing, what would you say was good about it, and was there anything we could improve?
You were actually always very easy to get a hold of, which was wonderful. I knew I'm not a phone person, as if you can't tell over the last 5 or 6 months. I prefer email just because I know the person can get back to me as soon as they can.
Right.
And you were always very responsive. On the whole thing was just, I have nothing bad to say about any of it, honestly. It was fairly easy, which is, I never thought selling a house would be I could say it was fairly easy. No, as what you did as far as bringing in Blue Nest was exceptional. Having people to reach out to help us.
Right.
In all aspects. I mean, even all the way down to when we had work to do. I know you talked to Mike and gave him numbers or people, and we ended up going with some of those,
Yeah.
and they came out right away. So you're obviously using people who are responsive, which is great. No, I have nothing negative to say at all.
Okay.
Everything was great. As far as making it easier, the only thing I would say to make it easier or better would be get me full price and no closing costs.
Get what I want with no argument. But, well, once again, that's the discussion part.
Yeah.
The buyers have a say in it,
Yes.
as well.
It was always their final decision, so.
Right. Okay, well, Terry, thank you very much. And
Absolutely.
would you recommend us to
I
other
would
people?
absolutely recommend it.
Okay.
They do a great job. Have all the information you need, and if not, you know where
find
to
it.
get it. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. Okay, well,
I
good job.
appreciate everything.
I appreciate
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was my pleasure to work with you, and I hope it won't be the last time.
Well, I'm trying to get my house sold, so.
All right. So, thanks, friends. We'll see you on the next one.